The secret weapon that writers, artists, and innovators used for centuries, and it's hiding in plain sight. You're probably thinking that poetry is just a flowery words on a page. But what if I told you it's actually a creativity supercharger? I'm Adam Prockstem Smith, and I used to think that poetry was pretentious nonsense, just like you do. Then I discovered something that changed everything about how I approach creative problems. 3 years ago I was stuck, completely blocked creatively. Every solution I came up with felt obvious, boring, recycled. Then I challenged myself to read one poem every morning for 30 days. At first I thought it was ridiculous, but then I said to myself, I'm desperate enough to try it. Here's what I discovered. Poetry doesn't describe things, it transforms them. When a poet writes about rain, they might call it sky tears, or nature's percussion section, or clouds emptying their pockets. Each metaphor forces your brain to see familiar things in completely new ways, and that skill, that ability to reframe reality, is the foundation of all creative thinking. But here's the thing that most people don't realize. This isn't just about writing or art. Every breakthrough innovation starts with someone seeing something ordinary differently. The Wright brothers didn't just build a flying machine, they saw birds and imagined humans with wings. Henry Ford didn't see just a Model T, he saw a production line, a revolution. Your brain has two modes of thinking. The first is what psychologists call convergent thinking, logical, linear, seeking the one right answer. This is great for following recipes or doing math, but it's terrible for creative breakthroughs. The second mode is divergent thinking. Messy, nonlinear, generating multiple possibilities. This is where innovation lies. Poetry is like a gym for divergent thinking. Every time you decode a metaphor, every time you interpret symbolism, you're strengthening your brain's ability to make unexpected connections. After those 30 days of morning poetry, something shifted. I wasn't just reading differently, I was thinking differently. Problems that seemed impossible started revealing hidden solutions. I remember working on a design project that was going nowhere. Then I read a poem about shadows. Suddenly I realized I'd been focusing on the objects casting shadows instead of the shadows themselves. That insight completely changed my approach. The project was a success, but more importantly, I learned to trust the sideways, poetic way of thinking. Let me show you how this works with something simple. This is just a coffee mug, right? But if I ask you what it is for, you'd say holding coffee. That's convergent thinking. One object, one function, one right answer. But what if I ask you to think about this mug like a poet would? What story does it tell? What metaphors does it suggest? Maybe it's a ceramic vessel holding liquid warmth, a portable hearth for your hands. And maybe it's a daily ritual object, marking the transition from sleep to awakeness. Maybe those coffee stains are diary of the early morning and late nights. See what happened there? One object became a dozen possibilities, and each possibility opens new creative paths. Now imagine applying this kind of thinking to every challenge you face. By the way, you can grab my poetry mastery manual free in the link below. Inside you'll learn frameworks and techniques to write confidently and find your unique voice. Over the past 3 years, I've identified 3 specific poetry techniques that supercharge creativity. And the beautiful thing is you don't need to be a poet to use them. Technique number 1. Metaphorical thinking. Poets constantly ask, what is this like? Instead of describing rain as a wet water falling from clouds, they might say, it's nature weeping or the sky's applause. And I use this in every creative session now. Stuck on a marketing problem, I ask myself, what if this product were a person at a party? How would it introduce itself? Suddenly, instead of features and benefits, I'm thinking about personality and conversation. Technique number 2, constraint-based creativity. Poets work within rigid structures. Sonnets have 14 lines, haikus have 17 syllables. These limitations force innovative solutions. When I'm designing now, I deliberately create constraints. What if I could use only 2 colors? What if the entire message had to fit in a tweet? What if I could only use materials found in this room? Constraints don't limit creativity, they focus it. They force you to find elegant solutions instead of the obvious ones. Technique number 3, embracing ambiguity. Great poems mean different things to different people, and that's not a bug, it's a feature. They leave space for the reader's imagination. This was revolutionary for my work. Instead of trying to control every detail, I started leaving intentional gaps, spaces where the audience could project their own meaning. My designs became more engaging because people were participating in creating the meaning. Now, here's how you can start using this today. I'm going to share my exact daily practice, 15 minutes that changed everything. Every morning, before checking email or diving into work, I read one poem. Not to analyze it or understand every reference, but to let my brain wake up differently. I pick randomly, no choosing based on mood or preference. The point is to encounter something unexpected. For example, The Red Wheelbarrow by William Carlos Williams. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with a rainwater besides the white chickens. 16 words, that's it, but notice, that's what your mind just did. You probably saw the scene, maybe wondered why so much depends on it. Maybe thought about your own moments of simple beauty. Next, I write for 5 minutes about whatever the poem sparked, not analysis, just free association. What did I see? What did it remind me of? What questions arose? Then comes the crucial part. I carry one image or phrase from that poem into my workday. Today I might ask myself, what's the red wheelbarrow in this project? What simple overlooked element might everything depend on? This isn't about becoming a poetry expert. It's about training your brain to see familiar things from fresh angles, and each and every single day. Now I know what you're thinking. This sounds great, Adam, but I hate poetry, and I hated it in school. It felt pretentious and confusing. I get it. Felt the same way. High school poetry class was about finding the correct interpretation, memorizing techniques, analyzing every metaphor to death. But here's what I learned. There is a difference between studying poetry on your own and experiencing it the way you should. You don't need to understand every allusion or identity or identify every literary device. You just need to let the words work on your imagination. Start with poets who write about ordinary things in extraordinary ways. Mary Oliver writing about walking in the woods. Billy Collins writing about the everyday moments we all recognize. Langston Hughes writing about dreams and hope. Give yourself permission to not to get it completely. The goal isn't comprehension, it's inspiration. If even one line makes you see something differently, that's a success. Here's what surprised me most about this practice. The creative benefits didn't stay contained to my professional work. Poetry started changing how I saw everything. Conversations became more interesting because I was listening for the metaphors people naturally use. I'm drowning at work. This relationship is a roller coaster. Life has been a maze lately. I started noticing the poetry already embedded in how we think and speak, and that awareness made me a better communicator, a better problem solver, a better collaborator. But the deepest change was personal. Poetry taught me to sit with uncertainty, to find beauty in questions rather than just rushing toward answers. In a world obsessed with efficiency and optimization, poetry reminded me that some of life's most valuable experiences can't be measured or streamlined. The secret weapon that artists, writers, and innovators have used for centuries isn't hiding anymore. It's waiting for you in any poetry book, on any poetry website, in any collection of verse. Your next creative breakthrough might be just one poem away. The question is, are you willing to let your mind work differently for 15 minutes tomorrow morning or evening? You can do it in the evening too. But if you're doing it in the morning, you at least have like a preloaded inspiration. One last reminder, check my free poetry mastery manual below, and inside you'll learn frameworks and techniques to write confidently and find your own unique voice. Thank you for watching.